start World War III, and how under the Biden-Harris administration, we're on the brink of it. We see how the Democrat Party has failed our community, how they've hidden their history of trying to continue slavery, trying to keep blacks from voting, trying to keep Jim Crow going, being the party of the Klan, how they would take us out. I ain't talking about to eat when we chose to vote Republican. We see how they have Planned Parenthood buses outside of their conventions and target our community. How insulting is it that this man gets up there and tells us that we should vote for Kamala because we're black? Sorry, Obama, the gig is up.
Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. Today, we have a lot to cover, Warriors, and you are not going to want to miss this. We're going to get some comments during an interview that Kamala Harris recently had. The provocation that has been towards black men, yes, and she's provoking Donald J. Trump. Black men have a strong response. You guys have got to watch this video to the end. Before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell. Now let's get into it. Now here's Miss Cackling Kamala provoking. Okay, she is pretty much saying, come on, Donald Trump, come on. But where was she September 4th when he offered her an actual debate on Fox? But here she is talking up a lot of mess.
Y'all might have seen that just last night, Donald Trump officially ruled out any more debates. Now, I think it's a disservice to the voters. I also think it's a pretty weak move. But even if he will not debate, the contrast in this election is already clear. This election is about two very different visions for our nation.
Now, I can agree with her on that. It's about two very different visions. And you know what Donald Trump is about. He's already served a first term, and she served a term as VP. I want you guys to compare the two administrations and see which one you had more money in your pocket, which one did not have wars, which one you had lower inflation, you had more secure border, all the things like this, and lower gas prices. Remember, lower food, lower gas, no wars. I think I remember who that was. And here Kamala Harris is talking to Justin Carter of the Shade Room. They're talking about Beyonce, abortion, which is really what Kamala Harris's campaign is really about.
Yeah. Talk about freedom and what that means to you, why that song. It's just imperative. It's crucial right now, what's going on in 2024.
Attempt by some to attack these hard-won freedoms and rights, right? The freedom to vote. In Georgia, for example, they passed a law making it illegal to give people food and water for standing in line to vote, which the hypocrisy abounds. Whatever happened to love thy neighbor? You look at the freedom to make decisions, for a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. The freedom to love who you love openly and with pride.
Yeah, so you see what she's promoting, right? You see what she's promoting. And every time she opens her mouth, it really is a lie or a twist on the truth. Is the whole thing about Georgia. She's just talking trash. Also, the fact that she's promoting unaliving of unborn children. And you know their whole agenda is about reducing population. She said it out of her own mouth because you can't produce when you're in a certain kind of relationship. And of course, you know, another thing I just got to point out, why is it that every time she does an interview, Kamala, every time she does, not every time I should say, but a lot of the times you can look at the men, and he's one of them that belongs to a certain community. No hate. But when she went on that NABJ interview, both of those men, I'm just saying, that's what they're all about. And she interviewed one of those people who identify one way, but was born another way. She was being interviewed by them, they, them, whatever they, I get confused. I thought it was only two genders. And she was talking about having taxpayer money fund criminals' sex changes. That's what she said. That's what she said. Can you believe? And Donald J. Trump added in one of his campaign ads, she's all about they, them, not about us. I also want to add that the polling I'm going to show you a clip from CNN. The polling with Black men is not in Kamala Harris's favor at all. Men, generally speaking, are more conservative than women. That is something that's across the boards in every ethnic group. It seems to have a greater disparity with the Black Americans. Black men are just not feeling Kamala Harris. And I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of Black women have pulled away from her as well. I did a video called I'm Not With Her. And a multitude of Black women do not support Kamala Harris for president. They're going with Donald J. Trump. But we're going to look at the numbers and see the Democrat Party is bleeding Black voters, literally bleeding. And this might be something that they saw ahead of time, which is why they got all these other people coming in and hurrying up and making it okay for them to vote. There's a reason why people do what they do. There's always a reason. This is not just about, the poor people seeking asylum. Some of those people are from jails and mental institutions. They're causing crime. And the lie is that they commit crime on a lot less of a level than Americans do. Like, they don't commit crime not nearly as much, which is not true. I'm telling you, there's an agenda. But if you go with the news, if you just listen to the news and you just believe whatever they dish out, you're going to be not only misinformed, you're really just uninformed, because you don't have any truth or anything like that. But I'm going to show you these numbers, and you're going to see where the Democrats are really bleeding Black voters, particularly Black male voters.
There's a trend line now I never noticed before and make me go, whoa. This is one of them, all right? This is the Democratic margin among Black men under the age of 45 in presidential elections. You go back to November of 2012, what do you see? You see Obama by 81. Clinton only won him by 63. Then we're all the way down to Biden last time around by 53. A tremendous drop already. And then you take a look at the average of the most recent polls, and Kamala Harris is up by only 41 points. That is about half the margin that Obama won them by back in November of 2012. And this, I think, is, when Barack Obama goes in last week when he was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, essentially talking to young Black men, he made it seem like it was a Kamala Harris specific problem. This is part of a long-standing trend of young Black men moving away from the Democratic Party, and Kamala Harris is just the latest to face that magnitude of younger Black men going towards the Republicans.
And see, this is Black men that are aged 18 to 44, so are under the age of 45. They're going to do an overall Black male problem that they have.
What's most interesting here is the trend line and where some of the biggest drops happen or already happen in this case. How about Black men overall?
It's part of the same picture. We're looking once again at younger Black men. It looks like the worst Democratic performance since 1960, since JFK versus Richard Nixon. It's the same thing among Black men overall. Again, part of a similar trend, but here actually the drop off isn't as dramatic, right? Barack Obama won him by 85. Then you see 71 with Clinton, 69. Biden, basically the same thing, holding steady. But here again, very, very weak, only a 54-point margin. Now, again, still winning him by a large margin, but considerably lower than what we're used to, certainly considerably lower what we had during the Obama years. The bottom line is Kamala Harris with younger Black men and then Black men overall putting in historically weak performance for a Democratic candidate.
Is she getting any relief with Black women?
All right. So, we're talking about the trend line, right? And Black women, look, she's doing better with Black women than she is doing among Black men. But here, there isn't a trend line almost until we get to Kamala Harris. So again, this is a Black margin among Black women. Look, Obama won him by 93, very large margin. Clinton won him by 93, a very large margin. Biden did a little bit worse at 85. But then you look here and you get a 71-point margin. Now, again, these are large margins. But the bottom line is when you're talking about the base of the Democratic Party, you would think that Kamala Harris would do very well among Black women based upon history. And of course, she would be the first Black woman president, but
They say she would be the first Black woman president, but is she Black? You all need to go see that Candace Owens trilogy, not even a trilogy. She's really studying this in depth, and I can't wait to see what else that she finds out. But you all, this is a trend. And I think a lot of times with Black men period, they see that the Democrats, I see what the problem is. Black men overall, not just Black men, see the problem with the Democratic Party. They are anti-man. They always say that true masculinity is really toxic masculinity. So when a man is a God-fearing man, he protects his family, he's the protector type, he does what is necessary to be a good husband, father, overall wonderful guy. The Democrats are going to call this toxic masculinity. Yes, it is not toxic. It is how God made men to be. Judge Joe Brown even said it. He said, Judge Joe Brown said that the Democratic Party, he stopped being part of that. He's an independent now. Judge Joe Brown is an independent. He said that the Democratic Party is anti-man and anti-family. Anti-man and anti-family. And you know, BLM, I just thought about Black Lives Matter movement, BLM. It really should stand for by large mansions. Before they changed their website, they were against the nuclear family. The nuclear family is the biblical definition of a husband, a wife, and children. The BLM movement was against it, but they then took it off their website because people were calling them out on it. There is a movement, there is an agenda, and it is pulling us further and further away from God, further and further away what God defines as family. So next, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about Byron Donalds, congressman out of Florida. Yes, he's a MAGA Republican. He was on the list to be VP, and I really wanted him to be the vice president. But I'm very happy with J.D. Vance. I really am happy with J.D. Vance. I got to say, he won't give up. He will put people in their place. He will not back down. I love that about J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, keep that up. Don't let them hush you. Move on to another question when you're telling the truth and dropping those truth bombs. You just keep on talking over them. I love it, and I'm totally here for it. But this is Byron Donalds. Again, he's congressman out of Florida. He's on CNN talking with Dana Bash. Check this out.
Turn to the topic of what Kamala Harris is doing this coming week, particularly Monday and Tuesday. She's got several events courting Black voters. I know that you are talking about the Black vote coming out, particularly Black men, for Donald Trump. You're trying to help him along with that. To that point, can you talk specifically about what Donald Trump would do policy-wise in a second term to help Black Americans?
Sure, and thank you for that question. What Donald Trump is going to do is going to be actually quite similar to what he did in his first term. When you lower tax rates, when you cut these reckless and crazy policies that are now in the Kamala Harris administration, and you cut those regulations down, what it does is it frees up the ability for businesses to thrive, for people to be able to earn more money, for them to be able to keep more money in their pockets. All of his economic policies actually have a stabilizing effect on prices, and they grow our economy. You couple that with his energy policies. He calls it drill, baby, drill. But what it is being energy dominant in the United States of America. That also allows for us to put a cap on these massive price increases under the Kamala Harris administration. What that means in particular for Black families is that you have an ability to earn more money, keep more money, wages actually growing when you adjust them for inflation. And in the big stat, and this happened during the first Trump administration, nobody likes to talk about it. I heard Senator Warnock mention it. Wages adjusted for inflation were massively up under Donald Trump for Black men, for Black families, but for all Americans. The wage gap that Democrats love to lecture about, the wage gap in 2019 was actually shrinking under Donald Trump's administration, his economic policies, his energy policies, and his regulatory policies.
Can I just go back to the tax?
So that's the agenda that Black men are looking at.
Okay, thank you for that. The tax cut question.
Again, go ahead.
I would imagine that Kamala Harris would say or would ask the question about how tax cuts for wealthy Americans will help the Black community. What's the answer to that?
Well, Kamala Harris would say something like that, but we know that she's wrong because economically she's been wrong for the last 1,400 days. If you look at Tax Cut and Jobs Act, it cut tax rates across the board, mostly for middle-class families. So this is why wages adjusted for inflation for Black families was higher under Donald Trump than any other administration in the history of our country. That is a record of economic success.
Let me just quickly play for you what former President Obama said exactly on this question of the economy a couple of days ago.
Yeah, it was pretty good because it was my economy. It wasn't something he did. I had spent 8 years cleaning up the mess that the Republicans had left me the last time. He didn't do nothing except those big tax cuts.
Okay, see. Democrats always got to cover up for the fact that they screw things up. So they say, well, I had to clean up the mess that they had. So, and they have the media on their side, which Democrats control the media. You already know that. The music industry, Hollywood, public school system, you already know that, right? So the media is part of the problem as well, just as much as part of the problem as the Democrat Party themselves. But they always hide behind their disastrous policies by saying, I had to clean up the mess that the previous Republican president did. I had to clean up their mess. I had to clean up their mess. I had to clean up their mess. But it's always so convenient that whenever a Republican is in office, a true Republican, not a Bush Republican, but a MAGA Republican, things are much better. Now, we've had a long line of Democrats and rhinos. The Bushes weren't good. Clinton's no good. Obama, no good. Biden, Harris, no good. We keep picking the wrong leaders. And that's why we're in the mess that we are in. And that's not true. He's hiding behind their disastrous policies, blaming it on Republicans. They always project on the Democrat side.
I was working in finance during Barack Obama's administration. Let me tell you, the economy under his especially the last 5 years, was growing at about 1 to 1.5% per year. I think at the time, President Obama was saying that, this era of large economic growth is something of the past. We're going to have a more consistent economy. Well, in his words, a consistent economy meant one that barely grew. So when Donald Trump came in, he brought his tax cut policy in, which cut taxes across the board for everybody in our country, coupled the fact that he did cut massive regulations from the Obama administration. And what did we see? Economic growth in the United States went from 1.5% under Barack Obama to 3.5% under Donald Trump. Wages adjusted for inflation, like I said, because it's the truth, increased for every subgroup of Americans in our country. The wealth gap was closing. We were actually booming economically far more than we did under Barack Obama.
Boom. There you go. Boom. That's right. That's Byron Donalds. He doesn't back down. And, I at least appreciate the fact that CNN allows a MAGA Republican on their show. And she did let him speak. I'm just going to be thankful for the little bit of nuggets of light that CNN does expose every now and then. I just appreciate it. I've even heard that Fox is becoming more liberal and CNN more conservative. I don't even know what that is about. But if they become conservative, then I can watch their news again, right? But I got to make sure I check them out on that. But you see the numbers that he was giving. They always want to make it seem like Donald Trump is just cutting tax rates for the wealthy. It's helping everyone, not just wealthy people. It's helping everyone. And the wage gap diminished. There was less of a wage gap, because I always heard that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. Under Donald Trump, that gap was closing. And the economic growth under Obama was only 1 to 1.5%. Under Trump, it was 3 to 3.5%. Yeah, double. That's right. Or more than double. So things were better under Donald Trump. People can do this gaslighting. Like, we're just supposed to forget how life was under Trump and accept what we're experiencing right now. Things are so ultra expensive. I cannot even begin to tell you how disappointed I am. Every time I go to the grocery store, we put gas in our car.
We have not yet seen the same kinds of energy turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities. So I was wrong. That seems to be more pronounced with the brothers.
Wow, they must really be terrified. They didn't brought out the big guns, Obama. They're starting to realize that more and more of us have been waking up and seeing how they try to get us to vote, not for the person who's best for our communities and who has the best policies that are going to bring positive change, but they want us to vote based on skin color. We see how Kamala Harris did black men when she was the top cop in California, Jamal Truelove. We see how she locked up a single black mother because her child missed too much school, when in reality, the child had sickle cell anemia and was in the hospital. We see how she was brought in as the first black woman vice president, played a part in our cost of living going up, our groceries going up, our gas going up, our border being let open for the entire world to come in, and people who've come here illegally getting preferential treatment over people who've been in these communities for decades. Our children being put last, illegal immigrants' children being put first. We see how the media told us that Trump was going to be the one to start World War III, and how under the Biden-Harris administration, we're on the brink of it. We see how the Democrat Party has failed our community, how they've hidden their history of trying to continue slavery, trying to keep blacks from voting, trying to keep Jim Crow going, being the party of the Klan, how they would take us out. I ain't talking about to eat when we chose to vote Republican. We see how they have Planned Parenthood buses outside of their conventions and target our community. How insulting is it that this man gets up there and tells us that we should vote for Kamala because we're black? Sorry, Obama, the gig is up. It's over.
People want to act like Trump is the worst motherfucker in the world, but guess what? He was already president, and all this shit you talking about didn't happen. He didn't make himself a dictator, and this whole shit about he's going to make himself a dictator is really taken so out of context that it's ridiculous. He said he'd make himself a dictator on the first day, to implement some shit. And then, but that was, trust me, said tongue in cheek. It was not said seriously. Y'all already living in Project 2024. Okay, you worried about Project 2025 when they already ran Project 2020 on you with the scandemic and all that fucking bullshit. Like, what the fuck are y'all really even talking about? Y'all trying to act like scare me into thinking that he's so bad that I should just vote for this broad just because. But guess what? I feel that she's so bad. She's the one that scares me. So I feel that she's so bad that guess what? I might just go around and vote for Trump. And this is my first time saying this out loud. But y'all motherfuckers think you're going to shame somebody or bully it into voting for this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And now you're going to make me be Mr. Anti. You keep coming at me with this bullshit. You keep coming at me talking about, oh, it's a shame that you're not supporting a black woman. She's not black. She's Indian. She ain't black. Get out of here. They're gonna, listen, I don't give a trust me, the sentiment on the street in the real world is a lot of people are not with this woman. They see right through her. And they're trying to blame it on black men, but no, I see a lot of black women that are not with her neither. This is her, again, being disingenuous. First of all, black people don't wash no damn greens in no tub. How unsanitary are you to be washing collard greens in a tub and thinking that makes you more relatable? See, that's how out of touch she is, how stupid she is. She thought she was giving a relatable story to make her seem black. Oh, yeah. Oh, they want me to cook their collard greens. They bring me all their collard greens in the neighborhood. I had so many greens, I had to wash them in the tub. Just like she was and there's a you better thank a union member. You better thank a union member. She talking all black, but then when she get in front of the Spanish people, they said, I love you, Kamala. She said, I love you too. I love you too. Then when she gets in front of the white people, you better thank a union member for everything that you have because, union members are very, they're part of the economy. Like, who are you?
He goes on to say, like, who are you? I mean, she doesn't even know who she is. This woman is as fake as they come. I've heard one woman on Twitter or X say, she's as fake as press on nails. Honey, she is the fakest of the fake. Kamala, she is a chameleon. She changes her color and her accent depending on who she's in front of, just like he demonstrated. People are not falling for this BS. They try so hard to keep the good ones out. I am telling you guys, look at your history. Look, JFK wasn't for wars. Saw what happened. Abraham Lincoln wasn't for what was going on back then. Saw what happened. Every time there's a good one, a good politician, and there's very few and far between. I think you guys probably have already figured that out because a lot of politicians are bought and paid for, but Donald Trump is not. He's not bought and paid for. He did not even take a salary. He donated his salary. He is the modern day, I've heard Christians say that, the modern day King Cyrus. And Isaiah chapter 45, and he was the 45th president. He didn't take a salary. King Cyrus did not take a reward. And the Bible says, why did I choose you, though you did not know me? It's for my love of Israel, my love of Jacob. Donald Trump is very pro-Israel. He was even the headline speaker at a fight against anti-Semitism event earlier this year, just a few weeks ago. So he's very pro-Israel. He moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. So, and you know, I attend a Messianic synagogue. So the person that I vote for must absolutely be pro-Israel. It is not pro-Israel when you give American citizens suffering, you know, from Hurricane Helene damage, $750 that they have to apply for. But illegals just get all kind of money, way more than that they don't even have to apply for. They don't apply, they just get way more than that. And you saw the damage. You saw it. And then you give $157 million, $157 million to Lebanon. And Lebanon has terrorists. And then Lebanon is fighting Israel. So they act like they're for Israel, but are they really for Israel? So we got to look at what's happening. You don't look at what they say. You go by what they do and what your life looks like. That's facts. Point blank, period. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You all be blessed. Love God, your families, these United States of America. And as I always say, march on, warriors.